MakerSnack. A no-solder project creating an app-controlled, Python-powered animated necktie with Circuit Playground Express Bluefruit. Hello, makers! For those that want to dive into the code right away, you can find it at github.com/Gallagher/PythonSmartTie. And my last name is an unusual spelling of Gallagher. It's spelled like Gal-laugh-er. I'll show you in the code where you can change the colors and the animations, but right now it's set up to work like this. Launch the Bluefruit app, connect to your CircuitPython powered Bluefruit device. The controller will let you do a bunch of things, including selecting colors using the color picker. I'll click blue in the color wheel and click send selected color. And when you're done, you can click on controller in the upper left-hand corner. Select control pad to get the arrow and number buttons. The right arrow flashes up and down with a Larson scanner effect. The left arrow will slow the effect down. Press the up arrow to stop the animation, and an up arrow will move a single light up the necktie, and the down arrow moves it down. Press 2 to get a blue wave pulse. 1 flashes in my school colors. 3 will pulse in my school colors. And 4 gives you a rainbow flash. Now here are the materials you'll need. The brains in our project are going to be the Circuit Playground Express Bluefruit Edition. It has Bluetooth built in, it works with the handy Adafruit Bluefruit app, and it also runs CircuitPython. You'll also need a micro USB cable, and you want to make sure that you're using a data cable, not just a power cable. The lights that we're going to use are the Adafruit NeoPixel LED strands. I use the 4-inch pitch, but there's a 2-inch pitch if you want them closer together. For this to be a no-solder project, you'll want to buy the bolt-on kit for the Circuit Playground Express. This will allow you to use screws to hold the wires into the board. You've got a bunch of different options for power. You could use one of these 3 AAA battery holders, or if you're familiar and comfortable with the risks of LiPo, you could use a 3.7 volt 500 milliamp battery. But if you use one of these rechargeables like I'm showing here, you'll also want to purchase a USB charger for the LiPo. I use this blue circuit board necktie that I found on Amazon, but this project will work with lots of different garments, including scarves and skirts. You'll also need some grommets with 1/2-inch holes. These support the holes in the garment, and they also give you something to glue the lights to. They come in plastic and brass. I got some antique brass, and mine came with a little tool to be able to hammer them together, but some of these let you squeeze them together with pliers too. Now to glue the lights from the inside of the tie to the underside of the grommets, you can use either E6000 super glue, which is a favorite among electronics folks, or a hot glue gun works great if you've got one. You'll also need wire strippers, scissors, and a needle and thread. Now the NeoPixel strands come with these 2 connectors on the ends, and we don't need these. We're actually going to find the end with the 3 little pins poking out of it. That's the one we want to snip off, and we're going to cut it close to the end here so that we've got enough room to be able to strip those wires and attach them to the Circuit Playground Express. And use your wire strippers to strip off about 1 inch of the plastic covering off the end of each of these 3 wires. Now our project needs wires for ground, signal, and power, and that's going to be these 3 wires that we see coming out of the NeoPixel strand. So you'll see one of them is pretty clearly a red wire. Red is our power wire. The one on the opposite side of that is our ground wire. And this middle one we'll use as signal. We're going to attach the ground to one of the G and D holes in the Circuit Playground Express. Right next to the one we'll use, you'll find an A1 circle. That's where we're going to attach our signal. And we'll attach our power into this one that's labeled V out. So find the ground wire that's opposite the red wire, twist the ends, and then just loop it around this G and D hole. Now attach it using one of the nuts and screws in the bolt kit. And you can tighten this by hand or use a screwdriver to make it a little extra tight. And then repeat the process, attaching this middle wire to the circle that says A1, that's your A1 pin, and then attach the red power wire to V out. So plug one end of your micro USB cable into your computer and the other end into this silver port. And when you do that on a new CPX, what you'll see is this rainbow animation. And if it does this, your CPX is working fine. Now, if you've never worked with a Circuit Playground Express or CircuitPython before, Adafruit has got a guide that they'll always update on how to install or upgrade CircuitPython. Now, when I'm recording the video, these are what the steps are. So if you click on this green button down here, you'll be able to download the latest version of the UF2 file. I'm going to save mine right to the desktop. Now over on your CPX, what you're going to want to do is double click this reset button right in the center, and what you should see is a ring of red lights. Now also when that happens, if you take a look over at your desktop, you should find a new device mounted onto your computer. It'll be called CPlay Boot, and what you can do is drag that UF2 file you just downloaded onto CPlay Boot. That will download the latest version of CircuitPython onto your device, and it'll also unmount it from your computer. But if you click again on the reset button on your Circuit Playground Express, you'll see that it'll be mounted on your computer, and this time the device will be called CircuitPy. Now we're also going to need some library files to support CircuitPython, so you want to go back to this Learn page for the Adafruit Circuit Playground Bluefruit edition and find the link on the left-hand side that says CircuitPython Libraries. Then scroll down there and click this green button that says Click for the latest Adafruit CircuitPython Library Bundle release. This will take you to a page where you can download the library files as a zip file. I'm going to save mine to the desktop, and then when it's downloaded, I'm going to return to the desktop and double-click on that file. That'll decompress the zip file. It'll create a new folder on my desktop with an unusual name, but if I double-click on that folder and go inside, I can find the libraries I just downloaded. Now watch what happens when I drag my lib folder into my CircuitPython device. It tells me that I don't have enough room, so what I'm going to have to do is eliminate some of the files inside of this lib folder so I can drag over the lib folder and get the files that I'm going to need for my project. Now, at some point, Adafruit might have a more comprehensive guide for which files to delete, or they may even have a library that's set up so that it's the perfect size. But what I have done to get this to work is I made a copy of the lib file, and the only files that I put in there were this folder that says BLE, Bluefruit Connect, Circuit Playground, Fancy LED. I've also put in the NeoPixel and the Simple IO. Now, just a short software detour for those that might be using the alpha version of the Circuit Playground Express Bluefruit. If you're following this tutorial at some time around October 1st, 2019, and you're working with the alpha version, you might have to update the latest version of the Adafruit CircuitPython BLE libraries. So just for those pioneers that might be having problems with the alpha product, go to the Adafruit page for the Adafruit CircuitPython BLE library, click on the green button in the lower right-hand corner to clone or download the zip file, decompress the zip file, go into that folder, grab the Adafruit CircuitPython BLE folder, and drag that into your lib file. So that's for anybody that is having a problem with the alpha version. For everybody else, we've got you back. Now just drag this updated lib folder into the CircuitPy volume. That will update your Circuit Playground Express Bluefruit edition. If for some reason you get a replace files message, that's okay, you can replace them. And now with our CPX all updated, let's get the code to control our lights. So we're going to go to github.com/Gallagher/PythonSmartTie, this URL. And you see a bunch of different files here. You can certainly download them, but I'm just going to click on pythonsmarttie.py, and I'm going to click on the very first line here, just before the hashtag. And then I'm going to go all the way to the end, hold down the Shift key, click at the end so I highlight the whole file, copy all this code to the clipboard, launch the Mu editor, which we use to create CircuitPython code for the CPX. And if you've never used Mu before, Adafruit's got a really great tutorial on installing the Mu editor. But I'll assume that you've already installed Mu and you're ready to go. Paste the code that I just copied right in here. Now, if I double click on where it says Untitled, I can save this code to my CircuitPy volume so it goes on my CPX. I'm going to give it the name code.py so it executes whenever I turn on the CPX. Now, just to make sure everything is working, I'm going to click on Serial here to open up the serial monitor. I'm going to click on Save again, which is just going to re-execute the code, and I don't see any errors here, so everything is looking good. Now, just to show you one of the parameters you might want to change right out of the gate, there is a setting in the code, this variable here, num_LEDs. It's set to 5 just because my tie is only going to show 5 lights. But if you want to change that to a different number, maybe show all of the lights on your strand, you can certainly change this to 20 or whatever. But I'm going to leave it 5 right now. If you want to experiment with some of the colors that I've got in here, I actually grabbed a bunch of colors that were preset by Erin St. Blaine. If you want to learn a little bit more about how she uses the fancy LED library for CircuitPython, you can visit her tutorial, but feel free to change some of the colors that you see in here, play around with some of the hex values if you'd like. And if you want to know how you can call different animations, well, I've got that just in my main loop down here. So you can see what happens if you press button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, all the way down. So now let's see how everything works. We can launch our Bluefruit app. We should see a device that's named CircuitPy. We can connect to that. If you click on controller, you get a bunch of options here, including color picker. So if I decide, okay, I want to take a look in maybe an orangish color there, we can see that it indeed changes those colors. I can go back to blue if I would like to as well. Click on controller and then click control pad for some animation options. So if you press the right button here, you do a fast Larsen scanner and you can speed that up with each right button press. It'll slow down with each left button press too. If you press the up arrow, what it's going to do is stop the animation, and then you can continue to press the up arrow to move the light up or the down arrow to move it down. 1 is for school colors. 2 is a nice smooth blue wave tone. 3 does the wave tone in school colors, and 4 does your flashy rainbow colors. So everything is looking good. We're ready to put this in a tie. I tied my tie as part of the measurement here so I could see where it would come up to my neck. And then I lined the lights up here, and I put little pieces of tape underneath so that I could see where I wanted to poke the holes for my grommets. Now it's time for a little necktie surgery. Just flip the tie over, take a look at the seam on the back, and find the threads that hold the seam together. And just snip those little threads with a pair of scissors. You might have a thicker piece of this felt-like fabric. That's just to shape the tie. Now we're just going to push this out of the way because we're not going to be poking holes through this piece. This grommet tool works with another piece that's got a serrated edge, so I'm just going to position this behind the piece of fabric where I want to poke a hole. I'm going to double check my measurement, and then I'm going to pound this in. When you're done, the tool cuts a perfect hole for the grommet size. Next, take the grommet circle with the longer end. That's going to be pushed in through the front part of the tie that you'll look at. And then grab a grommet circle that doesn't have this barrel piece and slide it around the back of the hole you just cut. Now, while holding the two pieces of the grommet together, take this front-facing piece and lay it inside of the pounding ring. Put the pounding ring face down on the table, then take the cylinder that you're going to hammer onto, put that on the back side of the grommet, pound away, and what this does is it takes the cylinder that pokes through from the front part of the grommet and then bends it back so that it locks with the back part of the grommet, sealing the two pieces together. And repeat the process, cutting holes in the tie and then pounding in the grommets for all of the places where you want your lights to shine through. Now I've unplugged my CPX, and what I'm going to do is cut right after the 5th light because I'm not going to have any more than 5 lights on my tie. So I'll plug my tie in every now and then when I'm working on it just to see how things light up. And I'm going to take the piece that I just cut and I'm going to slide it underneath the tie loop. That's going to be important because you want this to be inside of the tie fabric. And I'm going to bring it right up to the top so that I match the very top light with the very top grommet. If you got a hot glue gun, that's going to be less messy, but I wear rubber gloves when I work with E6000 glue. And what I'm doing here is I'm taping the end of the light to hold it to the fabric. Then I'm going to put some glue around the grommet ring, and I'm going to tape down the other end of the fabric to hold the light in while the glue cures. Now repeat this, gluing all the lights into all the grommets, and then give the tie about a day for the glue to dry. Now when you're done, you can sew up the seams in the back of the tie. Now if you're like me and lack skills at sewing, there are also a few other options for you. If you've got a fastening stamp, you can put some fasteners in here. It's nice to be able to do that toward the end because you can get at the electronics a little bit easier if you need to, or you can even just use a safety pin. Finally, tuck your shaping fabric in here, then you can take your battery, plug it in, smooth everything out so it looks nice and flat, and you are ready to be styling. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. I'd love to see pictures of the things that you build from this tutorial. Keep at it.